When nothing is sure, everything is possible. In times of crisis, embrace the power of possibility, the power of you, in choosing a bright future with UWI-ROYTEC. Crises bring opportunities. Opportunities which UWI-ROYTEC has mastered and used for growth and renewal. Our fully accredited cutting-edge programs will position you to take advantage of career opportunities in an ever-changing and exciting new world. Whether face-to-face, remote, or hybrid, UWI-ROYTEC's rewarding learning experience is shaped by a globally connected curriculum, delivered by highly competent faculty and backed by enabling technology. The possibilities are endless. We have 34 years of experience in empowering learners. Join us as we take hold of the future and place you on your path to career success. Register today to experience the possibilities at UWI-ROYTEC.
UWI-ROYTEC, your path to career success. To learn more, log on to www.roytec.edu.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Leslie Brusco, New Business Development and Marketing Officer at UWI-ROYTEC. And of course, on behalf of the management and staff of UWI-ROYTEC, we welcome you to another one of our live sessions, where this afternoon we'll be focusing on the matter of compliance as it relates to our upcoming event, the Advanced Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Program. Yes, we are now putting out our advanced training program, and that will cater to persons who would have done our very successful fundamentals of anti-money laundering, as well as persons who have significant amount of experience in the field of compliance. And also persons would have had some sort of prior training in compliance. All right. Now, the advanced program, as I would have mentioned a short while ago, it's actually a next level, all right, to our very successful fundamentals program, which began with our partner, the Association of Compliance Professionals of Trinidad and Tobago, in 2017. All right, since 2017, where UWI-ROYTEC and the ACPTT would have came together in this partnership to cater to persons and companies operating in regulated industries. And persons who, when we say regulated industries, if you're, a compliance person, professional in a company, you're a risk manager, an internal auditor, you operate in an industry that deals with jewelry, cars, real estate, you're an attorney, and you handle, large sums of cash, you need to be compliant with the laws and regulations of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have actually been very successful in doing just that via our fundamentals of anti-money laundering and now our advanced program. So to get going with our program this afternoon, I would like to bring in Miss Samantha Thompson, all right, from the Association of Compliance Professionals of Trinidad and Tobago, to get our board. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Hi, Leslie. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I am awesome. I am awesome. Sam, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Sam,
No,
so you're just giving a little intro there, and I didn't want to go too much into the ACPTT and what you all are, what you all represent. So I would allow you to do just that.
no problem. Well, thanks so much, Leslie, for having the association with you today. So the Association of Compliance Professionals, we are a non-profit organization, and our aim is really to help compliance professionals or other persons in the industry we are here to create a platform of learning. Yeah, so we have been around since November 2009, which means that in November 2021, this will be 12 years that we're going to be here. And so we are so excited to collaborate with UWI-ROYTEC. And as Leslie would have mentioned, we have been in collaboration for quite some time. And the team that you're going to hear from today, joining me today would be the president of the association, Mr. Jerome Chambers. and one of the co-founders, Miss Cindy Sadaphal, who will help you to understand more of what this advanced program is all about. So we're looking forward to having this collaboration with UWI-ROYTEC.
Awesome, Sam. So, Sam, it's the Advanced Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Program that we're putting out here, right? And I'm, on the screen for persons to see would be a little breakdown in terms of what person can expect on the respective days. Could you just go through that outline for us? Day 1, 2, 3, and
Certainly. So of course, the course outline is going to take you through 4 days. It's 4 days of learning. And of course, each presenter, of course, will go through a little bit more of what these would entail. But for day 1, what you would expect is understanding risk assessment and how to manage high risk relationships. Followed by that on day 2, you would delve into anti-bribery, anti-corruption framework, and money laundering. And day 3, you're going to look at an advanced review of sanctions management and understanding the 3 lines of defense model. And also on the last day, you would do a suspicious activity reporting. What we hope with this advanced program is really to give you more practical knowledge and how you can apply these in your organization.
yes. And Sam, I'm seeing here that you have some quite experience in compliance, as I'm sure your colleagues also would as well, right? So I mean, how has compliance worked for you, or why would you say that compliance, especially in your industry, is important, and why you would advise persons to ensure that they are compliant and have some sort of compliance training?
Yeah, thanks for that question. It's actually a really good question. So once you have compliance, it's really the foundation, that really protects the organization. And being a compliance professional, or even having a good understanding of what is required in terms of the legislation, you really seek to protect your organization. So we always encourage persons from various industries across the board to make sure that you understand what you can do, what is your role in protecting your organization.
Awesome. And I'm sure that based on what we have here, that Cindy, when we bring them in, and the Jerome, they would give us a little more insight on that. So at this point, I'd actually like to bring Cindy into the conversation. Hello, Cindy. How are you?
Hi. Good afternoon. I'm fine. Thank you, Leslie.
Welcome, Cindy. And Cindy, you are one of the co-founders of the ACPTT. How has that journey been, being a co-founder, and then your career and your journey, in compliance to where it is now?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm not just a co-founder, but certainly I was the first chairperson and president of the Association of Compliance Professionals 12 years ago. And I've been a director for 10 years of the association as well. So it's nice to see the association doing its wonderful work with UWI-ROYTEC in terms of doing this training. For me personally, as an attorney at law as well, this is where compliance can be very dynamic, because you don't only have to, be a compliance professional solely. You can have other backgrounds in accounts, in business, in law, and choose to be a compliance professional. And what we saw 12 years ago was a need to have an association for exactly what we're doing today, which is to share learning, to give practical knowledge. It is definitely, while I still call it a new profession, because it really started in the 2000s, this profession, the compliance profession. And I just want to say happy Compliance Professionals Day to everybody. I know it was Sunday the 26th, but belated happy wishes to everybody who's out there and practicing in compliance. Wish you a happy Compliance Professional Day as well. And that ties into the comment that I'm going to make, in that it's a new profession, but at the same time, it's a growing profession, and it gives a vast amount of opportunity for persons, not only within financial institutions like banks and insurance companies and so on, but rather into all the listed businesses that have a responsibility for compliance under AML and AFT as well. All the listed, like you mentioned, jewelers, attorneys at law, certain types of attorneys at law required, casinos, which are, all of these various things are falling under the ambit of the AML provisions. NGOs, which is also an interesting, new requirement back in 2019, requiring NGOs to come under compliance for AML, AFT purposes. So you have this growing profession. So for me, what I have seen rarely is to see the compliance professional blossom. And the ACPTT has been at the forefront of that with in Trinidad and Tobago to be an association for such persons to be able to network, to learn, to grow, to develop. And now we have this wonderful advanced course, which we hope that people of all walks and people who would like to learn more in the industry and compliance professionals who have done the fundamentals course who would like to know a little bit more about it, a little bit more detail, going into the areas that they've been asking us questions about when we were doing the fundamentals course. And we'll get more into that as we go into the topics.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cindy. And that's really some great information there, Cindy, because based on being around and being part of the partnership for so long, you continue to see persons coming out. It's over 500 persons have been trained in the fundamentals program, in that short space of time. And persons always have amazing things to say in terms of the content of the program, the relevance of the program, how they can apply it in their different compliance work scenarios, not to mention the lecturers such as yourself, very qualified in their respective areas, and we are truly highly appreciative of that, and especially with respect to the partnership. Now, Cindy, sanctions. I'm seeing here that and also understanding the 3 lines of defense model, which is an area that will be covered by this advanced program. Could you just tell us a little more about sanctions, and then we could go into the 3 lines of defense model?
Certainly, of course. I just want to go back to one of the points that you made in terms of our qualifications and giving this course. I'm an attorney law 21 years. Our other co-presenters as well, 21 years practicing as compliance professionals and lawyers in the business. So, what we're bringing to you is practical knowledge, not only in compliance, but for Trinidad and Tobago, which is so important. And I think we really need to focus on that importance, because a lot of the courses that you will do out there are maybe US based or non-Trinidad and Tobago focused. Whereas what we do is that we focus on Trinidad and Tobago laws and we look at how it affects us here, so that as a professional, you actually will be able to go back to your desk and apply what you learned immediately, because it would be immediately relatable. So I just wanted to throw that in as well in terms of experience and what we touch upon. It's absolutely important to appreciate that we're the only course that does that locally. So it's a great course for that purpose. Now, to get on to your question, Leslie, sanctions. We have in the fundamentals, we touch upon the fundamentals of sanctions and the basic requirements in our local laws, our 2 economic sanctions orders in Trinidad and Tobago, and we talked in the fundamentals about the requirements for screening against United Nations Security Council list and the Trinidad and Tobago Consolidated List, for example. We also touched upon what sanctions were, but what I've always realized when I'm speaking to people is, even in industry who've been working in it for 20-something plus years, is that the concept of economic sanctions still remains a bit of a taboo area or a bit of a distant area for many people. They still don't think it really relates to us here in Trinidad and Tobago. And when we talk about economic sanctions, we're talking about sanctions out of the United States Office of Foreign Assets and Control, for example, sanctions that they have in place against Venezuela. And you would remember in 2019 and early 2020, that scandal that came out in Trinidad and Tobago is public knowledge and information out there that really could have compromised us from a sanctions perspective. Thankfully, it was all managed well and has gone away, so to speak. But what it raised, I think, in the public domain to the average person out there was just how your everyday business can be impacted by economic sanctions. And I think it was very good for that, from that perspective, bringing that public awareness to you, the everyday person, and certainly to people who are in the financial industry and who are in listed businesses, would also have had a little bit of a heads up to say, wait a minute, what's this about really? And that's what I have seen. I've seen a lot of persons not really able to understand sanctions. So what we've done in this advanced course is that we've gone a little bit deeper, and we go into the nuts and bolts of sanctions. And what we will be doing is also making it very practical for you and looking at various industry types and how sanctions may impact you. So that's going to be super important for people to be able to find it relatable here in Trinidad and Tobago. We'll go through that issue that happened in 2019 a little bit more deeply. And I think what's a nice little highlight is the idea of secondary sanctions. Because here in Trinidad, we're probably thinking, but hey, Cindy, what you're talking about is the United States, US dollars. Yes, we deal with US dollars too, but how does that impact us here? We deal in domestic markets, only Trinidad and Tobago dollars. Well, that's where secondary sanctions come into play, and we will be going into that with some examples to help illustrate it. And the reason why I say that, and I would say that's a key highlight, is because secondary sanctions involve other currencies, other jurisdictions. It goes into the extraterritorial nature of sanctions, which I don't think people really appreciate. That you could be operating in Trinidad and Tobago dollars, but if you are doing a significant transaction, even in Trinidad and Tobago dollars, or a transaction that may impact directly or indirectly a US sanctioned person, that's an individual or entity, that you can also fall into that area of sanctions and be fined by OFAC because of that broad reach and that concept of the secondary sanctions risk. So I think that's just a nice bit of a touch point for the audience to appreciate that these are the things that we are focusing on. We are looking at the practicality here in Trinidad and Tobago. We're not just looking at sanctions as a concept, but we're looking at it here in Trinidad and Tobago. How does it relate to your industry? And how does it relate to you as a compliance professional in your industry, and even persons who may just want to learn in the business? They're an economist. They run their own business, and they want to just tune in and understand, well, might this relate to me? This is a fantastic course to tune into, and you get to understand these concepts a bit more on the third day as we've designed it. So that's just something I think is a nice, idea for people to kind of grasp onto and recognize, okay, there's something
Yes.
more here.
Yes, Cindy. And as you were speaking there in terms of the persons, right? We just want to remind persons as well out there that the program has two levels. We are at the advanced level now.
Wow.
We would have run that fundamental level, for the past few years, and we really now getting into that advanced stage, which will cater, dig a little more into what it is you're speaking about. Yeah. So we really want persons who have that level of understanding, right? From the fundamental, and have some level of industry experience as well, because we will most definitely be running that fundamental program again for persons who just need that basic. But if you have experience, in the field of compliance or some form of training, and you're looking for that next step, then yes, this program is absolutely awesome. All right. Now, Cindy, before I come back to you, the president of the ACPTT, Mr. Jerome Chambers, is also he just joined us, and we just want to give him a few moments, as well as he plans to speak about risk and those other things. So I'll be coming back to you, Cindy. Thank you so much. Please stay with us. Okay. Mr. Chambers here. Good afternoon, Mr. Chambers.
Good afternoon. Yep.
Good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Loud
Welcome.
and clear.
And thank you so much. Yes, loud and clear.
Excellent.
All right, and thank you
Excellent.
so much.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for
Enjoying
joining
this
us.
new platform.
Most definitely. And for
welcome.
persons who are now joining us, we are actually doing a live info session on our upcoming Advanced Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Program, commences in the month of October. That's October the 12th. If you have experience in compliance, if you have done our fundamental program, all right, or if you have experience in the industry, you are encouraged to be part of this advanced program. So, Mr. Chambers, you can probably just, Mr. Chambers, your resume might take me an hour or so to go through. All right, so I wouldn't bother to give the entire thing, and I would just like to hand over to you now, Mr. Chambers, with respect to the upcoming program, Advanced Risk Management and Managing High Risk Relationships. Could you just tell us a little more about that in terms of what we
Okay.
can look forward to on the program, please, upcoming program?
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I think we can say of this advanced program is a program whose time has come. For, I would say, about 2 to 3 years, we've been getting lots of requests from, let's take it to the next level. Let's talk a little deeper. Let's have serious conversations about compliance. There are persons who you've done the fundamentals part of it, and you're wondering what's your next step. Is there a bridge? ACPTT fundamentals and perhaps your CAM certification? This is it. This is it. Risk is an important factor. We hear a lot about risk, and we get questions all the time. What really is risk? Constitutes a risk? What constitutes perhaps a prohibited risk within the confines of our particular business model? And even when we begin to understand it and we start to unpack it to the rest of the organization, there are times that we come face to face with, for lack of a better expression, let's say, walls, because persons seem to interpret the viewing of risk by the compliance professional as testimony that compliance professionals do not understand business. But far from it. In order to adequately assess risk, identify risk, mitigate risk, it is extremely important for the compliance professional to first understand what is the nature of business that we are in. Whether you're an automotive dealer, whether you're a jeweler, whether you're a real estate professional, whether you work for a financial institution, insurance broker, insurance company, credit union, you name it. It is hugely important we begin to understand the nuts and bolts of the business, what makes the business tick, or as John Maynard Keynes and persons of such ilk would have said, what is the purpose of the business? Because we accept that the purpose of the business is not to do compliance. So, if we are talking about risk, it means we reach across to the FATF and we embrace the concept of a risk-based approach. What precisely does that mean? We'll go deep into that during this program. And how does one apply that within our local context, our Caribbean context? Templates, some Excel spreadsheets, some program that have been to us? Or are we looking at examining every aspect of the business, every product and service, and beginning to analyze what are the levels of risk posed by putting out or offering these products and services to your particular clientele? Yeah, every single product and service. We go a step further and we begin to examine, is it a case that these products and services are accessed in particular manners? Is it face-to-face transactions we are speaking about? The introduction of the COVID pandemic has raised even more concerns for us where risk is concerned. Because you see, previously, and I'd say prior to 2020, when we spoke about risk, a large percentage of those risks, we were dealing with the customer face-to-face. With the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have found ourselves in a situation where, in order to protect the organization, in order to protect our members of staff, we have been trying to limit the number of persons who come within our office space. We have been trying to limit the number of face-to-face transactions. Ourselves being thrown in an environment heavy information system, information technology. But in many cases, our compliance program did not prepare us to deal with this. Even normal business processes didn't necessarily prepare us to deal with this. So the questions that would arise, such as onboarding a new client, how does one accept identification documents? Is it sufficient that this prospective client would simply scan the identification documents and email it? Now, if that is what is happening, do you have sight of the original documents? What does the financial obligations regulation advise regarding this? Is a copy sufficient? What if this prospective client resides in another jurisdiction outside of Trinidad and Tobago? What then happens? Are we then allowed to use platforms such as StreamYard to have a conversation with this client? Does this also mean that our skills has to change, has to improve, so that while we may have been having a face-to-face conversation with a particular client, and we would have been looking for particular cues, you know, those non-verbal cues, posture, what they did not say, can things be adequately captured through a video conference? What if we are not properly trained and we interpret a blip in the internet speed as though the client is having a hesitant reaction to a question? Because it's a brave new world, and these are things that we have to take into account now. There are times talking about risk, and we'll practice this as well. We'll teach you how to think like a criminal. But that's an important part in risk. Because the criminals are trying to find out how we do what we do. That's how they look for loopholes in our products and services. So we'll give you real life examples for you to go.
Awesome.
Some of the actual businesses. Because what we often do is that we look at who has registered for these programs, what particular sectors of economy they are coming from, and then we look for the real life examples from those particular sectors that you may not be aware of, and we start talking about that. When we deeper into risk, we'll have conversations about things that go bump in the night, production orders, search warrants, and the like. Yeah, these are things that keep compliance officers at night. And while you may be among the lucky few that you have never been presented with a production order, there are some compliance officers, I am advised, that in 2021, their life got very interesting. Because in 2021, they perhaps got even production orders than any other single year. Now, I can some of you out there in World Wide Web and saying production orders. What's he talking about? Well, you will hear about it in the program now, won't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Spoiler
yes,
alert,
definitely.
getting a
Most
production
definitely.
order wrong, yeah,
Yeah, most
getting a production
definitely.
order wrong, however, you
Yeah.
an opportunity to attain some rent-free accommodation at the pleasure of the state. That's all I'll say about that.
Yes, that's all we will say about that for now. Jerome, you made a very important point where you said that that you'll teach them how to think like a criminal to be able to assess situations. And on that note, I just wanted to bring back in Cindy for something here when she spoke about the three lines of defense model. Cindy, you started to speak earlier on about these sanctions, and then and as Jeremy speaking about risk there, the three lines of defense model. Could you just give us a little idea on that in terms of what it's about and how it's going to fit into this program, please?
Sure. So the three lines of defense model, without going into too much depth, is really looking at the three layers that deal with compliance within any organization that is required to comply with AML, CFT requirements. So think of the first line as in 1945 when you see those war shows, right? You see the front line being the first line people marching in. That's like what the front line is of any business, any customer service person, even for a jeweler, a real estate agent, an attorney at law, the customer service agents of a financial institution or insurance company or credit union. That's what they are. They are the front line. They are the first persons marching in and dealing with customers face to face. And then we go into the second, we start to explain, well, what that is. That is more of the back office, the compliance professionals who sit behind the scenes looking at things, making sure that the risks are being managed and monitoring. And then the third line, where we talk about who tests the system, right? The audit. But I want to come back to the front line again because I think the reason why we want to explore this topic a bit more of the three lines of defense is because we really want to emphasize just how important that front line is in compliance. A lot of times they don't see themselves as being instrumental towards fighting it. They think, well, oh, we have compliance professionals in the background reviewing things, they'll take care of it. But what this is going to emphasize is that as frontline, embedded in your role, where you're required to comply with these AML CFT laws, is a requirement of compliance. It is embedded now. It is not just making revenue and going to generate business. It is embedded in your work. And what we go through, we discuss what that is, what that means for you as the frontline, and how do you implement it in your organization. So I don't want to give too much detail away here, but certainly that's what we want to explore with frontline persons, especially. And then we go into the second line of defense and the third line of defense. But I think for a lot of people, even compliance professionals, may not appreciate that the tide has changed as it regards frontline persons. They are no longer just you know revenue makers and dealing with the clients and have to take the documents and say, okay, well, compliance told us to take these documents to verify your identity, and they told us this and they told us that. No, it's much, much more than that. As a frontline, you are responsible now for sometimes even writing policies. Isn't that interesting? That there's now that idea that you're involved in the construction of your compliance program. I don't think that people would even see themselves as that in the front line. They would say, well, no, I'm just here to, get interface with the customer, take that document and move on. No, it's more than just following process. And we go into the concept of it in depth, and we explain using illustrations as well how to implement it in your organization, and looking at a practical approach of that. So that's just a little tidbit, again, a little eye opener for people, because again, even in hearing this, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, what? This sounds interesting. I think I need
Yeah.
to come in and figure
Yep.
out what more they're going to say about this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that people, you may be operating in a particular industry and you don't know how important compliance is. All right. So yes, so persons out there, if you're listening and you're hearing this, compliance is important. So you need to know your industry, so you don't run afoul of the law. All right. And just before we move a little further here, just wanted to let persons remind them of the details surrounding the program. This program is actually happening and starting on October the 12th, continuing on the 14th, 19th, 21st, and 23rd. All right. Talking so much, we would have heard Jerome spoken a little bit about the risk, Cindy about the sanctions. As we get ready to, as we come along to the end, tell persons out there why. Firstly, tell the public who should be attending this program. Just give a little idea of who should be attending this program and why they should attend it before I bring Mr. Chambers back into the conversation.
Definitely. Well, certainly, as we mentioned, we would have focused for those persons who would have done the fundamentals course. But like as Cindy said, you're the first line of defense, you're the second line of defense, you're the third. You would know who you are. So we would have the frontline staff. You can be a cashier. You can be a support staff working in compliance, an accountant, an attorney at law. You may have a small business, whatever it may be. We are calling on you to join us. We will help you in order to make sure that you have what is required in order to report as well and to understand the core functions of what is required.
Thank you so much, Sam. Right, and so at this point, there's one thing I wanted to speak with Mr. Chambers on again. Mr. Chambers, yes, we had a little video problem, but we are making it work. All right. I'm seeing here as one of the areas that will be covered, anti-bribery, anti-corruption framework, fraud and money laundering. Could you just, as we get ready to close, just tell us, a little on that again, as to why, again, this is important and why persons should attend the program to benefit from this area. Anti-bribery, anti-corruption framework, fraud and money laundering. Mr. Chambers.
Okay. I lost audio for a while there. I'm hoping it wasn't only me. Yeah.
Uh,
But
okay.
we tend to refer to it as ABC, literally. Anti-bribery and corruption.
Right.
And yeah, easy way to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps us to talk about an important concept that we call a predicate offense. And of a predicate offense, plain language, really is a offense or a crime that must happen in order for another one to happen. So it facilitates it. And bribery, particularly if someone is a politically exposed person, is a crime. The proceeds from that crime, the person is not going to be walking down Frederick Street singing the next road march, I took a bribe. So they're going to conceal the source of those funds. And that, of course, touches the concept of declaration of source of funds. They are going to attempt to change the form of those funds. Let's say it's cash, let's say it's a car, I don't know, maybe a five-star hotel or something of the sort. You're going to try to convert or change the form of it into something else, some other kind of property. So all of these things are becoming connected here because, again, when we speak about property, people tend to think, well, he's talking about a house and land, but concept of property in law really refers to anything that is capable of being owned by an individual or an entity. So it means now we are identifying, again, risk, who our client is. We are identifying their source of income versus the source of funds, not necessarily the same thing. And we are even paying attention to who may be their close associates. You see, there's a common misconception among the persons, the non-finance professionals, that everybody thief. Sure, you've heard that. And everybody in a position of power does this and does that. It is actually more difficult than you think. Because if you're a politically exposed person, think again client identification, think again assessing of risk, automatically your account gets flagged. And your account experiences enhanced due diligence. Oh, we're talking here about a higher level of monitoring than the other accounts in this business. So when you suddenly make a deposit, do a transaction that appears to be out of sync, out of the normal with what you have stated as your employment, what you have stated as your income, that gets flagged. It comes down to KYC, knowing your customer. And mind you, we are not only going to be talking about KYC now, because I know you're saying, but I've heard about KYC before. How does that help me in terms of anti-bribery, anti-corruption? You see, we're talking about KYC, know your customer. We're talking about KYE, know employee, and that, of course, connects a dot to what Cindy was talking about. Because your employee under the 3 lines of customer-facing function, your first line. And 2020 and 2021, we have seen internationally reports that suggest that employees in financial institutions are being targeted. Oh, let me refine it a bit. The report said young, well-educated, well-qualified employees of financial institutions are being targeted to be used as, wait for it, money mules. Now, if that's not a phrase that you're familiar with, you definitely need to join this program. Yes, a money mule. And I'm talking between 2020 and 2020. Yeah. So we will talk about that. We will talk about the instances where persons who hold high public office or prominent public offices, what happens when these individuals acquire some extracurricular compensation? We're using nice words and phrases today. ABC says bribe. They may not necessarily call it that. Is there a danger that this extracurricular compensation may find its way into your organization? But you're saying, well, you're not a bank, so it doesn't apply to you. But what do? You're a jeweler? Have you not seen some of the same pictures I have seen with young individuals adorned with all their grandmother's gold around their neck, claiming fishermen or fishers, depending on your perspective? Wasn't it a jeweler that helped convert those alleged proceeds of crime into another form of property, being precious metal? Connecting the dots here? What if you are simply behind you are going online to Singapore and you are buying and seeking to import used vehicles? Hybrid is the big thing now. What if I wanted to take my proceeds of a serious offense and convert it from the form of cash into a hybrid vehicle? Am I not coming to you? Aren't you going to be the facilitator of that transaction? But you may say to me, but if you ask too many questions, this client will simply go somewhere else. Okay, but part of our job is ensure that you do what you're supposed to do. You stay within the confines of the law. so that when those search warrants are executed on your competitors who may not be doing what you are supposed to be doing, you have your cloak of protection there. These things are important. And do not go away with the impression, do not go away with that mythical thought that nothing is going to happen. Things are happening. The fact that you may not have seen it broadcast all over Facebook doesn't mean nothing happened. This system works very often because we all understand the need for confidentiality. The day you file a suspicious activity report and you see somebody like, well, I haven't seen Mark Sanford talking about it on the news, that perhaps is the day the system is cracking. You don't see, take note that these things are still being done by people who have been well trained, well educated, and well prepared for their role in their industry. And I would fathom maybe 9.5 times out of 10, these would be people who would have attended UWI-ROYTEC's fundamental program and now are just waiting for the advanced program.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you so much. I am excited. Jerome, I think I would have to attend this program sometime, because when I hear yourself, and I hear Cindy speak, Avi, and I always get, excited. I tell myself, what, I had to be, be a part of this program. So guys, thank you so much. Just as I begin to wrap up, this program is for anyone who has that responsibility for anti-money laundering in their company. They handle large cash. If you're compliance professional, you're a chief financial officer, you're a government official or regulator, you're a risk manager, you're working in the financial institution, vehicles, you need to be part of this program. You're operating in a regulated industry, casinos, and you need to, get on board with this program, especially if your staff would have done that lower level program, and for the sake of, ensuring that the education continues to grow, you need to be part of this program. Okay. So with that being said, I would just like to remind the public right now, the program in terms of when this program is coming up. It starts October the 12th and runs on the 14th, 19th, 21st, and 23rd from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Register today. You can head over to our social media pages. You can go to our website, locate that program, and just hit register and get it, get the ball rolling to being part of this program. Of course, we also do have payment plans for persons who may require such. Companies who have large amounts of persons who require the training, we can also work with you, in terms of your budget, as well as, if you need to have it done as a group as well. So guys, I'm just gonna, our closing comments. The program is there on the screen. Day one, for those of you who are looking, advanced risk assessment, anti-bribery, anti-corruption, fraud and money laundering will be covered. On the third day, we heard Cindy spoke about sanctions. We heard Sam speak about suspicious activity reporting. Sam, did we go in depth on the suspicious activity reporting? Did we go in depth on that?
I know we
Or we
didn't
just touched
touch
on
on it.
it?
Yeah, we didn't
We
touch on it
touched.
too much.
We didn't
Yes.
touch on it lightly, but probably as we close, Sam, you could probably just say a few words on that as we get ready to close.
Definitely. Well, one thing we must say is that for reporting entities, you certainly have a reporting obligation. And so, what this advanced course would touch on is a lot of case studies. We will show you how to write quality suspicious activity report, suspicious transaction reporting, what is required. So, for example, the FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit, really relies on quality suspicious activity reporting. So it's not just about content or just submitting a report, but getting good quality. And so that is what this course will focus on, helping you to make sure that you meet your reporting obligations. And so this course again will really give you the practical knowledge in order to make sure that you actually reach those reporting obligations.
Thank you so much, Sam. And I'd like to thank everyone from the viewing public for joining us. Please head over to our social media pages and our website and sign up for that program. Any closing comments, guys?
Sign up today.
Just want to add there.
Sure.
Just want to add there. I just realized I didn't mention it. I think I've looked at a lot of programs different organizations have been having dealing with money laundering, terrorist financing, proliferation financing. But I think this is the only program that also touches on the very serious issue of fraud. Because a lot of times people don't necessarily see the connection. They may be involved in these activities and not realizing that they can also end up being charged for money laundering. And with the advanced program, we have understood the importance and we have actually incorporated it as an entire module. Yeah. So we're going to be dealing with that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you so much, the team, Sam, Cindy, and also hi, Avian, who wasn't here, and I'm sure she would have been with us as well. All right, viewing. So thank you so much, guys, and we look forward to
She's online.
again
She's
that
online.
session. She's online. Awesome. Of course, we look forward to that session come October the 12th. Sign up. All right, register and get on board and ensure that you are compliant with the laws of Trinidad and Tobago and obtain quality certification from UWI-ROYTEC and the Association of Compliant Professionals of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you and have a good afternoon.
When nothing is sure, everything is possible. In times of crisis, embrace the power of possibility, the power of you, in choosing a bright future with UWI-ROYTEC. Crises bring opportunities. Opportunities which UWI-ROYTEC has mastered and used for growth and renewal. Our fully accredited cutting-edge programs will position you to take advantage of career opportunities in an ever-changing and exciting new world. Whether face-to-face, remote, or hybrid, UWI-ROYTEC's rewarding learning experience is shaped by a globally connected curriculum, delivered by highly competent faculty and backed by enabling technology. The possibilities are endless. We have 34 years of experience in empowering learners. Join us as we take hold of the future and place you on your path to career success. Register today to experience the possibilities at UWI-ROYTEC.
UWI-ROYTEC, your path to career success.
To learn more, log on to www.roytech.edu